Oh, hey guys. Welcome to the third part of doing a simple hit effect. So, in the previous two tutorials, we got to the point where we were able to create this hit effect to this point. It's not in between, it's not cleaned up. Here's what the sprite sheet looks like so far. Got all these shapes going on. So, we're going to get back to work on it. Now, you may be thinking that you have all the knowledge you need to do a good hit effect, and if you do, then that's awesome from the previous tutorials. This one might run a little long too, because there's just a lot of information that goes into this stuff. So I've got some ideas on how to improve it. There's some fundamental things that I want to change. We've got these shapes here that should really be on a separate layer. So these zaps that are coming off like that, I want to cut those, Control X, F7 to create a new frame and put them down here on this layer so they can become these zaps that are coming out. The other thing that I'm noticing about these is I'm only really satisfied with this one, and that's because it feels really nice. If I go ahead and hit F7 there and hit Control Enter, it feels really nice the way that it's feeding out into this shape here, whereas this one over here is like distracting. It's like a big shape here and then it becomes skinny, becomes another big shape, and this one doesn't really work either. So I'm going to try to follow the pattern set by that shape. First off, I'm going to move them over a frame because I have another idea with them that I'll get to in a second. But if I hit onion skinning on, and I lock the layer above, I drag this circle over to there, I can see an opportunity to make these shapes work better together. And what's funny is, I also don't like this shape, by the way. So I'm going to switch that up. The reason I don't like it is because it was just moving in that direction, which fights against either that or that direction. So it's this like third thing that just looked bad. So an idea that I had was something like this. Kind of invert the shape out here. Oops, fill that in. So it kind of has this here to slide on, and then I can bring this in, right? And now it's getting too big for a transition piece, so I'll just chop it off. Might look terrible, who knows. Then I can delete this big guy and follow the example of this dude. By the way, this guy's not even that right on, so I'll move it so it's actually aligned with that dude. And yeah, he's actually looking pretty good, as is. So there we go. Make this so that they're not parallel ending points. And something like that could work. Okay. Over here, I'll delete that guy. Oh, wrong key. Wrong key. I'll just make it go up like that, because why not? It's a little bit of variety in my day. Right. Okay. Then the in-between, the ground in-between, make sure I'm only looking at the frames before and after. Do a little blur there. There we go. I'll let that kind of attach a little longer. Yeah, that feels nice. Bring this in here. In between, like so. Kudos to you if you're watching these entire videos. Try to make as many useful comments as I possibly can. Useful comment number 1. Don't mess up. Stay in school. So you'll notice sometimes I'm doing a mix. Sometimes I keep the lines right up against each other from frame to frame, and other times I'm like deviating all over the place. Let's see how that looks. Save and Control Enter. Much better. So now we've got these zippy zaps traveling outward in electrical fashion, and I can start working on their dissolve. So they're going to hit this frame and they're going to start dissolving pretty quick. Now the question that I get to answer is, do I want the lines to dissolve last? Like, do I want them to linger the longest, or do I want the zaps to linger the longest? Now, what I do know is I don't want them to both linger the same. So I could go either way. But I will say, whichever one finishes first needs to be done significantly before the other one. Like, I can't just say, okay, well, the one that lasts the longest will go to the last frame, and the one that finishes first is the second to last frame. I'd prefer to have it done by here, right? So I've got to see. Right now I've got 2 beats, so I get to time out my beats first to see what I can make work and what looks good. So I could try squishing these together, right? And then I'll just add a frame of dissolve on these really quick. I'll be using this frame anyway, so it'll be good to have it for later use anyway, where these are just kind of like all broken up. And so this will help me visualize my timing much better when I can see these, at least with one frame of breakup. And I can play around with it from there. The beautiful thing about Flash is that you can really switch things up very easily in your timeline, and you can just try things, see what works and see what's not working. Okay, so there we go. Ooh, that's nice. You know what? I think I like the zaps dissolving first and then the lines dissolving second. Because the zaps are like this accent that comes late and leaves early, right? Like, they're not starting until frame 4 or so, and then they're dying out well before. So I like that timing. Bzap, bzap. All right, let's get to it. So now's the fun part, where all I really got to do is just animate this guy. Or, sorry, not animate it. I've already animated it. I just got in between it. And like I said, leaving 2 of the same frame where it's a flash frame like that is okay, because your eye takes some time to like catch up when something goes from black to suddenly it's on. It's really okay sometimes to hold for a frame. Plus, in whatever game engine you're working in, you're probably going to do like a blurry fuzzball in the game behind this layer. You might even be doing like other little elements as well. And those are going to help carry the animation and the motion. So much else is going to be moving that holding this for 2 frames, it's really not going to hurt you. Okay, let's in between the ones that are holding the longest first. I'll just take care of this guy because I was just on it, and so yeah. So we just gotta kill these off. So it squeezes in like that. I think I'll just keep squeezing it on that edge and leave it tight on that edge. Alright, I'll retract this one over here. And I'll have one more frame. I gotta remember, I'll have one more frame where these are still alive. So maybe what I want to do is not squeeze everything so much. Maybe some things will stay a little bigger so that I can do one last frame of dissolve. I'll just let that tip go. Let it go. It's gone. So I'll make this guy a little bigger because I want this to be the one piece that lingers. We will clean that up. That was gross. This zap is smaller, so it's just not gonna make it to that last frame. Oh, this guy will last for sure. It needs another dot out here, but he's gone on the next frame. That's a boring shape. That's unfortunate. What I'm really liking is that it's got a longer shape down here and then a little notch up top. Then the notch is going to be gone here. All that's left is a little piece which will be gone in the final frame. And then this guy will make it to the final frame because I deem it to be so. The leading edge, it's kind of nice if the leading edge is usually there till the very end because it leaves that impression of the silhouette. So, in fact, I'm just going to do that final frame right now. I wanted that guy to stay. And, oh yeah, I guess this isn't the leading edge, but oh well. I break all my own rules all the time. Okay, so then we got these up here. So I need to unlock that layer and lock the one below it. Change that to that. There's a lot more to go over here, so spend a little bit of time on this. Between away. So that's squeezing in. This guy is becoming smaller. There we go. This guy is kind of just sliding out, but his leading edge is staying put. Always check your frames after you in between. Make sure it's not wobbling. Flip it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Cool. And if you're smart, you would have had some pieces dissolving already. Like this guy here, he's already dissolving out, so he's gone. He's a goner. Put this here. Okay. This was attached. Now it's not. So morbid. Let's see, that's going from out there to in there. I can turn off my ring guide so you guys can see this stuff better. Pretty much know where my rings are at, so I don't need that anymore. I'm going to leave this bigger. I'm really sad that this shape became what it did. Right? I mean, I want to leave it pointed. There we go. Because it's still got 3 more frames that it can dissolve out. I can do something with that. Okay, go back to the frame I was working on before I completely lose track. There we go. Just made that little shape a little bit crisper on the edge. Man, I was in a hurry, wasn't I? Alright. Got some little bloopy bloops going on. You know, for bits that are this small, like there's some roughness, you know, like right there. I'm not going to fix that stuff. I mean, that's just too small to fix. I'm going to give him one last frame of life. I mean, and then like how this has a little hole in the middle of it. Like, honestly, you could spend your time paint filling that stuff, but at 100% zoom, ain't worth it. Plain and simple. I'm going to save you hours and hours of your life by telling you it ain't worth it. So this is an interesting one because this one travels out every frame, right? But I want to give it a sense of groundedness. Like I want it to kind of stay and linger. So I'm actually going to make it a point to make this hang around, and even on the next frame where I've already got stuff drawn for other stuff, I'm going to make it hang around just a little longer. Because that guy was just moving and then died while it was moving, and I want it to give it a sense of slowing down, so I wanted to do that. We'll probably notice that later when I'm previewing this after I've gotten this thing on 2s. Animation has some lingo for those of you who are not familiar. When you're animating on 1s, that means 24 frames per second, which means every one of these would be filled in if my if my frames per second was set to 24. On 2s means every other one is filled in, which is what my current goal is. Yes, I'm on 30 frames per second, but I guess I can still call it 2s. And that's not breaking any laws, I hope. Okay, so the last 2 frames are where only the biggest of the shapes are going to linger. So this guy's going to go to the very last frame. I get to decide the few shapes that are going to the very end. I want this guy to go to the very end. He's like a stationary fixture. This guy could go to the very end if I made him a little bigger, so I'm going to do that. Connect him there. Connect that. There we go. His buddy will go to the second to last. And, oh shoot, I broke my own rule again. I filled that shape in. I'll leave the tip one out here. And this one, why not? And that guy, this guy will be really small. So the only ones that are going to the very end are this guy, and this guy. There we go. Alright, let's see. Save and Control Enter. There we go. So it's feeling pretty good. You know what? This tutorial might be a lot shorter than its predecessor. Things are going surprisingly well. I'm not going to have to overhaul anything, at least not that I can see so far. So the next step is to highlight all of these dudes and hit F7. You know what? It may take a while after all, because in-betweening, as you're about to find out, does not always go as quickly as one might hope. So, you'll notice here I've got this triangular shape, plus it's going to take a while because I'm explaining all this stuff. I've got this triangular shape here, right? Then I've got a diamond shape. Well, this ridge and this ridge did not exist on a triangular shape. I'm going to have to make them appear. So make those shapes appear, but don't make them appear up here. Make them appear back here, because remember, the shape is moving that way. So by the time they get to here, they will have traveled from their origin, which is back here. See what I'm saying? See how that slides into that? Feels good. Feels good. And I can still keep this attached. That feels weird. It's all wobbly wob. This is where this is where my OCD really shines, guys. I apologize. If you're also OCD, leave a comment. If you're not OCD and don't care, you can leave a comment too, but your apathy might lead you to not leave a comment. At this point, on this stretch, I just want to in-between these, in-between. Because that seems to be what makes sense for the situation. Most of the time, straight in between on something moving this quickly is, sorry, not quickly, but subtly, like, because none of these are moving very far, is pretty safe. If it's moving quickly, like a big distance, you have to really be careful. Like these guys, you have to be really careful how you in between that. You'll want context on where it was at before and where it's headed. before you go slapping on an in-between there. Because if I just straight in-between that, things get dicey. By the way, if you like this longer format for a walkthrough of how to do stuff, please let me know. If you prefer the kind of short, simplistic overview, and sometimes you like the longer format, that's kind of the mix I'm going for. Sometimes I can explain things very quickly. Other times to demonstrate stuff, it just takes time. Okay, so it's sucked in, and then it's shooting up. Okay, so it's shooting up and then it's moving slowly. Got it. So I'm gonna do this with it. I'm gonna just slide it up into its position. And I'm gonna leave this guy up as well. And then just bring that up a little bit. So now I've got this interesting thing where it sucks the bottom down, but the top stretches up. It feels kind of goopy, almost, which I kind of like. I'm okay with that. Alright, this going over here. Guys, just think of it. Yes, this stuff is tedious and it takes a really long time, but if you're willing to stick it out, then you've already beat out your competition who quit at the first part of this tutorial. Those guys, you don't have to worry about them. They're not at your level of attention span. No, not even close. They're not going to get that awesome payoff of learning the secrets of the zippy zap hit effect. Alright, I will start off this break. So right here, it goes from a shear face there into here. I'm going to just carve away that opening and then bring it here. So it's kind of like swooping in, eating away, instead of just like eating away in a boring way. Can't tell you how many times I see in-betweens done just like so predictably, you know, like, come on, get creative. You're a creative professional. Be creative about your profession. Don't just have things eat away evenly all the time. Alright, this comes in there, and it goes there, and then it comes here, and then it does that. Fill all these in. Yeah, easy peasy, am I right? Okay, so I don't like the way this is moving. So first off, it should slow way down. Once it's broken apart, it shouldn't be moving that fast. So I'm going to get it to its destination a little quicker, right? So I'm offsetting it in that direction. And then it'll feel nice and slow moving there. Oh, this is broken. That should not be broken. When I resized, I never fixed that, apparently. Okay, so now I can in between. As the plane flies over on its way to its destination. Alright, there we go. Go. Yeah, this one should be pretty straightforward in between. Although the tip, I want the tip to go out faster. So I'll put it a little closer to its outer destination, and then I'll just bring this back into an even in between. And we got the helicopter to follow the plane. I think we're by the, well, I know we're by the hospital. I think we're by the hospital. And I think life flight just goes out a lot from this hospital or something. Either that or they're reporting on the traffic in LA. And so there's a lot of that going on, so they got to do a lot of reporting, I guess. I don't know. Can only assume. If you like traffic, leave a comment. Actually, even better, leave a comment about what you like to do in traffic. I don't think anyone's actually going to leave these comments, honestly. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, my brain just turned off. Did you see that? Yeah. Brain, not so much. Okay. Floop-de-loop. Bring in this half over here. Okay. You know, you really could have done this hit effect in, say, 9 frames, but the reason why I did a 16 frame one is because I love that nice fall off, that nice, beautiful outro. And again, like, that's the thing that you get with flipbooks that you can't get with like a particle group, right? Is you can get this nice sense of timing where it's like it can hold a pose really, really elegantly and fade away in a very creative sort of way, but you need some time on your flipbook for it to do that. So if you make it really punchy at the beginning, then it gives you a lot of frames afterward for it to dissolve very beautifully. And that's the part that takes the longest to do, to carve out, to draw. Some of this is just going to wobble. I just know it will, because I'm not being as cautious as normally I would like to be. But I mean, let's be honest, all of us, when we've been working on an animation for a while, it's kind of like, okay, I'm just going to leave that connected there, because viscousness is good. Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, I was done a couple hours ago. Yeah, I don't know about finishing this. This should be connected. So we just kind of do a rush job, and it's funny because by that point all of the brain work was mostly done, where you were figuring out the overall shapes and the overall timing and getting it to feel punchy and getting dynamic shapes and all that. And so skimping on the in-betweening, not the worst crime you could commit, but then you notice, like, oh, it has a little bit of a wobble to it, and you're like, whatever, just ship it. But the funny thing is, like, most demo reels have that wobble, and they have that weird kind of like awkward shape moments in them that the animator never took the time to fix. So if you want your demo reel to stand out, take that extra time and really go in and be thorough with your work and be patient and make it, like, bend it to your will, make it look awesome, right? And I guarantee you people are going to notice. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, this guy actually smoothed out his in-betweens. Like, his stuff actually feels professional and clean, assuming it was a good animation to begin with. I mean, if you've got crappy base animation, like rough animation, and then you're cleaning that stuff up, it's like, it still doesn't look good. Sorry. It's like a really clean piece of crap. Oops. So yeah, absolutely make sure that you're following all these principles that we talked about with dynamic shapes and dynamic timing, but then take the time to clean that up. Okay, so this break and this break, speaking of being thorough, happened at the same time on the next frame, right? Because they were together here and then they're apart here. I want them to still have some delay between themselves, so I'm going to have that one break first. And I'm going to leave this one together. Right? Yeah, see, leave that brain on. Don't shut it off just because you're in between. And that'll add just that little bit of variation that I think is going to be nice. And because this one broke, I'm going to leave this one together, because having them both break at the same time again would not be as varied. It wouldn't give as much contrast. And this is definitely moving backwards. Am I okay with that? Yes. I'm okay with it moving backwards. That is a conscious choice for the record. If it looks really bad, then oops. Not everything can move forwards in life. Some of us, we gotta move back. Back of the line. That's gonna wobble. Oh, no, it's not that bad. Alright, let's see, what did I miss? I missed that guy, oh, just that guy. I love my Cintiq. For years I had an old Intuos 3. I guess it was new when I got it, but it served me well doing freelance work at home for a really long time. And eventually I saved up enough money from that extra freelance work that I went out and sprung for a Cintiq. So for those of you that are curious, I'm currently using the 24 HD, the one with the gigantic counterweight that swivels down into your lap, which obviously is not in my lap, you're not looking up at my face. But I never do that. I never swivel it down into my lap, because then there's nowhere to put my keyboard. At work, we have the 22 HDs, I believe, slightly smaller, but they're freestanding and they don't have this giant counterweight on them, and then they put this swivel arm on them that swivels in multiple directions, which is really nice because then you can kind of put it off to the side on your desk. You can swivel it up close to you and you still have room for your keyboard, and I recommend it. I recommend it over the 24 HD, actually. Even though the 24 HD costs a little bit more and is a little bit bigger, the screen resolution on the 22s is the same. And they have new ones out too. So I'm talking about a previous generation of Cintiq as well. What am I doing with my life? Adjusting these tiny little things. Okay, get away from it. Wait, no, this one's wobbling. You see that? The line's here, and that's going in, and that's coming out. So I'm going to bring it out. Oh jeez. Sometimes Flash does that where you make a brush stroke and it deletes everything that you didn't paint. Does that make sense? It's really weird. So you just hit undo and then it fixes the problem. Right? You guys must really love learning how to animate if you are still watching. My hat goes off to you. I think that's freaking awesome. You're the people that I want to be teaching. Because, like I've said before, animating, it's not for everybody. I mean, honestly, it gets tedious. It just does. And you have to kind of enjoy that. Like, growing up, I played a bunch of Lego bricks. Played with Lego bricks a bunch. And I loved it, because it was so tedious. It was like brick by brick, literally, you know? And I don't know, I still get a kick out of it. I still collect Lego sets, actually. Still buy them here and there when I see one I really like. Because I just love how small they are and how detailed you can build things. And I don't know, I just have bins and bins full of them. Because I can't get enough. It's crazy, right? But I guess it makes sense. You just enjoy tedious stuff, and then you do it for a living, and they pay you money to do it because other people don't want to do it, but you do. You like tedious stuff. And that's awesome. I'll let that be over there. Rather than just have it evenly come apart from that, You know what I mean? I'm going to shift the gap over to this side. Another helicopter! Yay! Oh, this one's flying closer. There we go. So one thing you never want to do, or at least try not to do, is have a piece break apart in one frame and then in the very next frame disappear. At least give that guy one more frame before it disappears. If you can. If you've got space to do it, then do it. So this comes up here. Man, I don't think I could give a more in-depth tutorial than this. But we'll see. Next I'm going to do an explosion of fire. So look forward to that one. That one's going to be great. It's going to have more detail than this in some parts, in some ways. I'll have to strategize it. I'll select something that's not super detailed. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know. Maybe it will be. Maybe it'll be a 3-hour tutorial. Or 4 or 5. And then you guys will have the joy of watching me animate for 3 to 5 hours. Alright. We are coming closer to the end. And the cool thing is, these pieces are starting to disappear now. So these frames are going to get quicker and quicker. It's one of the glorious things about in-betweening is that your job typically gets easier the closer you get to the end. Because there are fewer shapes, because they dissolve. Unless you're in-betweening a shot that's just holding till the end of the shot and not dissolving. In which case, you were taking shortcuts anyway because you didn't do the dissolve. And the dissolve is oftentimes the most tricky, tedious part of an explosion. So many times you look up a reference on like explosion and they've edited the film so that it just shows the explosion and it doesn't show the dissolve, like at all. And in movies, they really, really rarely hold an explosion out until it actually is like dissolved and the dust clears, because it takes forever. It's like the excitement is gone, and now it's the part where the smoke just kind of swirls and sways in the breeze, and it just kind of fades away and dissipates. And honestly, it's pretty boring, right? So doing an interesting dissolve, first off, dissolves in real life are not interesting, typically. And second off, no one ever films a dissolve, or they at least don't like leave it edited in. So you don't have any reference. You don't have any reference to pull, but even if you did, it would be boring reference. So it's up to you guys. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to create a dissolve that's not boring. I mean, jkFX, because that stuff ain't easy. That's gonna wobble. Yep. Alright. Make that a little bit further out. I'm just cheating with the selection tool. Sometimes my edge wobbles slightly, and I can fix it by just grabbing it with the selection tool and nudging it, but more times than not, the eraser tool is the way to go. Oh, I got one more. I was gonna do a Control Enter, but then I saw I have another frame. Yay, another frame. Attitude is everything. I'll tell you what. Just keep a good attitude. You got this. You got this. It's really just these bigger shapes, right? They're the ones I really want to stick around. Maybe one of these little ones sticks around a little bit. Just a little bit. To the third to last frame. Right? That's wobbling. Wobbling, wobbling, wobbling. But I'm moving on to other things. Not bigger and better things. Just other things. Because time is of the essence. And the cat videos are waiting. And you, I mean, I know I'm just like, I'm saying it and I'm shooting myself in the foot because I'm going to put you onto these cat videos, and you're just going to get Jones in for them, and you're going to leave this tutorial, go to those cat videos. Before I check my video, I'm going to also in between these. I'll leave that connected, but this broken up. Remember, I don't want them both to break up at the same time. I know there's a joke there, but too focused. Think about it. Alright. There we go. Zap. That one's there. Oh, in between, right here. Yeah, I'm losing where my in-between is. That's one of the tricky things in Flash. I actually don't have an easy answer on how to mark your frame quickly. I mean, if you want, you can like if I click on the layer and hit F7, you can come here and then you can label it like mark or whatever you want, and it'll actually put a flag on there. You see that red flag? So I don't know, I guess you could grab that flag and move it around. Like it's like labeled right on a frame. So when you have a frame selected, you can label it. That's also useful for scripting. Oh, I don't want to be on that layer though. I better lock that layer. So I don't want to be on there. Okay. Yeah, you can use scripting stuff that says go to and play this frame label, and it'll find the label that you put on the frame and go to that frame. It's handy for that. So again, I broke apart this one, but not this one yet. I actually kind of like that frame label trick. I might incorporate it into my workflow. Look at this, I'm learning stuff too. Learning! Alright. Coming close. This is like the home stretch, guys. This is like 2 more frames, and we're there. Whether or not it looks good, the tutorial is going to be over. Be excited. But it's going to look good. Gotta be. You know, not everybody can break apart at this different times. Yeah, I'll leave these two together. Can't do it. I just can't. Alright, I'm going to move Mark. My buddy Mark. I actually work with a buddy named Mark. Shout out to my buddy Mark. He's an awesome effects animator. He animated the waterfalls on the updated Summoner's Rift in League of Legends. Coolest looking waterfalls in video game history. Mark, this one's for you. I named a frame after you. Mark might actually be watching. He said he was going to watch these tutorials, so this will be the test. Whether or not he comes up to me and says, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you talked about me in your tutorials," that will let me know if he watched to the very end of part 3 of making a hit effect. The most exciting journey in effects tutorial history. That's probably not true. But I'm going to market it that way, so I hope you guys don't mind being a part of this epic moment, which is coming to a close. I'm not even talking about what I'm doing anymore. But I think it's just all the same stuff I mentioned before. Like, that guy died before this guy. Like, not everybody can die at the same time. Are you ready for this? There it is. So, I'm actually really happy with this hit effect. I think it's nice and satisfying. It's got a nice pizzazz to it. I could add like some glows and like fuzzy blurs to it, some color transitions. You know, maybe like starts hot white and fades out to a nice red or yellow or whatever the heck I wanted to color it. But you know, overall, I'm just gonna have to say that I'm happy with it. It's a zippy zap hit effect, wham powy, that could go in a game that is highly stylized and has some interesting shapes to it. So there you have it, guys. I hope you learned something.